September 19, 1939 was the beginning of the Soviet Union invasion on Poland. One of the first battles was the Battle of Shak. This battle started September 28, 1939. The Polish army went in two columns. The first column went to the forest near the town of Mielenki, and the second column reached the forest near the town of Shak. They found out that the town of Shak was occupied by the Soviets. Orlik Ruckman, the leader of the Polish army, directed both columns to form a line of defense and to provoke the Soviet army. The next morning, around 8 o'clock, the Soviet tanks were getting ready for battle. They came closer towards the line of defense. When the tanks were about 500 meters away, that's when the Polish anti-tank guns opened fire and destroyed the Soviet tanks, which made the Soviet retreat and the Polish army capture the headquarters. The Soviets left all their tanks, ammunition, and other military supplies. Poland had won this battle. During this battle, the Polish army had more deaths and wounded than the Soviets. The Polish had about 500 deaths and 1,600 wounded, but the Soviets only had 81 deaths and 184 wounded. This was the only big battle Poland won against the Soviet Union. The other battles following were all won by the Soviet Union. In the overall war with Poland and the Soviet Union, Poland had 3,000 to 7,000 people killed or missing, up to 20,000 injured, and 320,000 to 450,000 were captured.
D-Day was the turning point in World War II. D-Day, also known as Operation Overlord, happened on June 6, 1944. This was a massive attack on the Normandy beaches in France. After the Allied forces began to push back the Germans, on D-Day, over 1.5 million troops were deployed to England. Over 150,000 troops stormed the beaches. There were only about 40,000 German soldiers around the beaches, so the Allied forces had a clear advantage. The U.S. alone had about 15,000 paratroopers land on the beaches of Normandy. The Allied forces attacked across 5 beaches: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches. The troops later connected up and began the pursuit of the Germans. The Germans were taken by surprise and were not able to stop the Allied forces. According to Royal Marine Trevor Stancy, who fought on D-Day, he stated that it was chaos, there were people dying everywhere, and all you could hear was gunfire and bombs blasting the water. He stated how much of a horrible time it was, with bodies scattered everywhere. D-Day is a very important day in history that we should never forget.
Operation Barbarossa was the turning point of World War II. The Germans tried to invade the Soviet Union and capture many major cities, including Moscow. This started June 22, 1941, and ended December 5, 1941. Adolf Hitler approved the final details on February 3, 1941. Germany started it with many catastrophic surprise attacks and were winning many battles. The Soviet Union could withstand the brutal weather, and it was very helpful to them because the Germans struggled in rainy summers and freezing winters. Germany had to surrender after the 6th Army was destroyed, even though it was against Hitler's commands. Overall, Germany suffered 775,000 deaths, and the Soviets suffered 800,000 deaths, even though over 6 million were injured or captured.
The invasion of Poland contained 66,000 deaths, 133,700 wounded, and 694,000 captured. Germany bombed Poland on land and from the air. Hitler craved to regain lost territory. He wanted to rule Poland. Poland had 1.3 million troops fighting against 1.5 million German troops. Germany had 3,600 armored vehicles against 750 in Poland. Germany had twice as many airplanes as Poland did. Germany's planes were also more advanced than Poland's. A Polish field listening station was scanned for enemy planes following the German invasion of September 1939. The conquest of Poland would bring Lebensraum, or living space, for the German people, according to Nazi leader Hitler. Hitler declared the massive invasion was a defensive action. Britain and France did not agree. Tons of refugees fled, hoping the Polish army could halt the German advance. Germany refused to stop attacking Poland. On September 3rd, Britain and France declared war on Germany, which started World War II. The invasion of Poland ended on October 6, 1939. When the Polish forces were defeated, German authorities began enforcing their racial policies in the occupied territories. Jews were required to identify themselves by wearing white armbands with a blue Star of David. Jews were forced to do labor. Thousands of Poles were expelled from their homes. When Poland lost, Germany and the Soviet Union divided the country. The defeat of the Nazis in 1945, unfortunately, didn't give Poland freedom. Poland was still controlled by the Soviet Union. Poland would be trapped behind the Iron Curtain. Finally, the Polish people threw out the communist rule in the 1980s.